Good morning. I would like to call this meeting to order. Thank you for joining us during our weekly hybrid MS breakfast meetings. My name's Tate Chan, and I am your June program chair. A little bit about me. You can read my detailed bio on the screen. I have more than 10 years experience in real estate, more than 20 years in manufacturing and management. For education, I own a master's in engineering management and a bachelor's in manufacturing technology. I'm excited to be your host this month and look forward to connecting. Now, help me welcome our moderator for today, Lucia Tam. She will be introducing our panelists.
Good morning, everybody. I don't know if I have them all in the same right sequence. Do we have Jonathan Fox here? Hi. You want to introduce yourself?
Hey guys, I'm Jonathan Fox from Milanco Building Group. Thank you guys for having me and enjoy.
Then next we have Adriana Morgan.
Good morning, everyone. Adriana Morgan with Puro Clean of San Dimas. I am the business development representative for the restoration company.
And I think everybody knows our pretty Leena Sankary.
Hello, good morning. Leena Sankary from U.S. Bank Home Mortgage. I've been in the business for over 15 years. Bilingual, I could speak Mandarin, Thai, or trilingual and English. So happy to be here and you have a question, so I'm always here. Thank you.
And next we have Chris Vasquez.
Good morning, everyone. I am Chris Vasquez. I'm with Western Rooter, your local plumbing partner. Happy to be here.
Great. Happy to have all four of you here. Our topic today is Nailed It, Construction A through Z. So there's a lot to learn today. So starting with Jonathan, what kind of renovations and the most value that you can get in multifamily buildings?
So that's a good question. The type of upgrades that typically add the most value to these types of properties are things like common area upgrades, gyms, pool decks, anything exterior envelope. So painting, roofing, siding, anything like that. That's going to add the most value to the multifamily buildings if you're looking to sell or even rent.
Wow, that's a lot. So, Adriana, how are restoration services different from construction?
Thank you. Restoration and construction are different, but they do overlap. There are certain restoration companies that do have general contractors and they can come in and help you do the mitigation as well as the build back. So those are kind of like the overlaps. We do not build anything from the ground up, at least or specifically our company doesn't, but there are, certain companies that might be able to help you with that. So yeah, we do overlap.
Okay. So, Leena, what is considered a construction loan?
Okay. So, right now buyers are more selective than ever, right? And they want to build custom home and they want something that they wanted. So, and there are not a lot of the new builds in the area. So that's where the constructions loan come into play. And with more land should be coming available soon. It's unfortunate with the wildfire, but I mean, a lot of, home owners who are victims or those buyers, will have more opportunities and more chance to acquire land and wanted to build their dream home. And for those who own the home, and the victim of the wildfire and ready to sell, so there'll be a great opportunity for those buyers and the agents to be able to help out your clients to achieve the home ownership, right? So construction loan is different than the regular loan. So regular loan, so the lenders will give you a lump sum to finance on the move-in ready home. But the construction loan is the short-term financing that will give out to the client to build the home from start to finish. And the buyers or clients will not have the money on hand. Lenders will work directly with the licensed contractor and give them the money. So that's something that will be helpful for the nowadays real estate market. Thank you.
So Chris, when it comes to plumbing and construction, where do we begin?
So as far as plumbing is concerned, the first place you'd want to start would be to get the proper permits from your city or county. And they vary depending on the city or county. Like I'm from San Diego, and the permits, from what I understand, are a little bit different than Los Angeles County. So it's really important that you partner with someone who knows how to pull permits and knows how to do, like, understands the scope of work that might need to be done, and that they're verified. But permits are where you would want to start for plumbing.
So Jonathan, when what ADA upgrades are most commonly required during TI or common area work?
We all know ADA compliance is very important. If you don't do it, you're gonna have to redo it. So the things that they normally look for are the sloping of ramps, adjusting restroom features, signage, door hardware, anything like that. So it's very important. Definitely want to make sure you have you're working with somebody who knows what they're doing and all the guidelines that they're supposed to be following, or it's going to get very expensive to redo it.
We don't want anything expensive. So Adriana, is restoration and remediation the same?
So remediation is the portion. So let's say you had water damage in your $2 million home. You would call a restoration company and they would come out. The cleanup process is the actual remediation part. You know, it's when you come in and you actually remediate either the water damage, the mold, or the fire damage. The restoration is when you actually move into the reconstruction phase, which is when you come in and you try to put everything back the way you found it. So that's kind of what a restoration and remediation company does. That's the difference between what we do and what a construction company does. We come in and we try to put back Humpty Dumpty per se together again. We're not gonna renovate all of your, your home. There are certain instances where if you have like a total loss in your kitchen or your bathroom, there's been cases where you come in and there's no way to replace like a certain vanity, or you can't find the tile, and then you'll come in and we'll have to replace it with something close to what you had, but not necessarily the same thing. So those are kind of the differences. One is the cleanup process and the other is the rebuilding process.
Okay. How to fix a broken grass. Okay. All right. Okay. Leena, how does the construction loan work?
Okay. So like what I had mentioned earlier, right? So the construction loan is not like a lump sum loan that we're giving to the buyers or to the clients. So we work closely with licensed contractor. So I'm sorry to those Mickey Mouse contractor here. We're not allowed to work with you, but we're a licensed contractor here. Right. So we have a lot of affiliates who are licensed contractor that you'll be able to, work with them. So that's a great partnership here. So we work closely with licensed contractor, and, so what we'll need from the buyers will be, they will need to get the approved permit from the city and all those cost breakdown from the licensed contractor. And so what we do is we work closely with licensed contractor and pay the licensed contractor phase by phase. So we call that as a draw. So it's not like a loan, it's a draw. So the good thing about this is the client will not pay the full amount on the monthly payment. So they actually pay only based on the outstanding balance. So whatever is drawn to work on the project. So let's say if the project is lasted 12 months. So the first month, if the loan amount, the total cost would cost the client $200,000, but the first month it's only draw for $50,000. So your buyer is paying only interest payment only on that $50,000 draw. So you'll be surprised that the payment is much lower than what you had expected, because buyers clients paying only the interest on the outstanding loan amount.
All right, Chris, do you need a plan or a layout when it comes to plumbing?
Yes. So for us, planning is important. So you want to lay out, that way you know where the sewer line is. And you actually might want to check that first just in case there might be any issues. But when you develop your plumbing layout, you can then plan where all your piping is going to be, your fixtures, and where you want everything to be. And it's really important to get this step right from the beginning, because later it's going to cost a lot of money to fix things. So you always want.
Great. So, Jonathan, what are common pitfalls you see in permit approvals, and how do we help to avoid that?
So a lot of common pitfalls are just having incomplete set of plans. Kind of piggybacking off of what he said, the plans are the blueprint. You need those to do the job correctly. So what I suggest is working with your general contractor, architect, engineer, whatever, in order to make sure those plans are right the first time, or it's going to be a really, really, really big headache for you later on.
So, Adriana, should we not use the same contractor to handle the restoration and reconstruction?
Thank you for the question. A lot of restoration companies, as I mentioned previously, do have general contractors licenses. It's very important that you check their license. But the short answer would be yes. If they do offer reconstruction or build back, if that's one of the options, I would say you go ahead and do that, because that way it's easier to keep everything in-house and you have the same company that would be in charge of both the mitigation and the reconstruction. And but it's entirely up to the homeowner or your client. If you're trying to get a house on the market, and you want to work with one restoration company, but you already have somebody that you've worked with before that can do the build back, it's entirely up to you. Especially if it's something that's covered by insurance. Yeah, you're not forced. The insurance can't tell you who to hire, so it's entirely up to you.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
thank you.
So, Leena, what are the types of construction loans that are available?
Okay, there are many type of the construction loans available, but the two major types that a lot of people want to, get the kind of get an idea of how they works is the first one is construction to permanent loan. So you might be curious about, okay, so what happened after the construction is completed, right? So what do you do with that $200,000? So on the construction to permanent loan, so work with the lenders. So a lot of the lenders, this is very common and very popular option that lenders offer, and clients will want to go towards this type of the construction loan. So meaning that $200,000 loan, after the construction is completed, we get the permit, we did the final inspection, the loan that the clients borrowed is converted into the fixed mortgage automatically. So you don't have to, basically don't do anything. So whatever the amount's outstanding, so become the fixed mortgage payment, and the client will start making the payment. Another one would be just a standalone construction. So that one is just like a regular loan that they draw it out. So once the construction is completed, the client will have to apply another loan to pay off that outstanding balance. So that one is less common, is like more costly because you have to apply and pay for a fee for the first construction loan and another loan to pay off the construction loan. So that one is a less popular one, but there's also the options for the clients to be able to choose from. The rate is a little bit lower, but on the permanent, the construction to permanent loan, it's, overall, it's less costly and it's more convenient for the client. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris, when do you start putting up the fixtures and the pipes?
So we start installing everything after the layout is complete and the customer decides where they want everything to go. So it's what we call a rough-in stage, where we put in all the pipes and we start to put in all the fixtures, but nothing's connected to the water yet. That happens after the rough-in's all completed.
Okay. Jonathan, how do I know if a property has structural damage?
So basically you're just gonna look around your property and you'll visually be able to see it. So look for things like uneven floors, cracks in your walls or ceilings, or sticky windows, something like that. It should be pretty evident. If you are still in doubt, you can always get a structural engineer or anybody else who is licensed to inspect these kinds of properties.
So Adriana, when we have problems, how do you first think of mitigating it?
I guess it depends on what your problem is kind of where you decide whether to call a construction company or a mitigation company. So if you have, let's say, a burst pipe in your house, do you call Jonathan to come in and tear down your entire house and rebuild it from scratch? No, that's where we come in. So if you have, like, say there's a fire in your garage, but it's only in the garage and it didn't take out your entire house, do you call the construction company or a mitigation company? That's where we would come in. We would come in and mitigate the damage for the smoke, both cost inside the house as well as the structural damage in the garage. So that's kind of what differentiates us. So you wouldn't call a construction company to come in and mitigate mold or water damage or fire damage, right? Or if you have like a hoarder situation, you don't call Jonathan, hey, Jonathan, come tear, although they'd probably be tempted to, you'd come tear this down. And so you would come in, we would come in and help remediate that. So those are kind of the differences between the remediation company and the construction company. So
Okay.
we're, as you said, we don't want anything expensive. We're the cheaper option. We're the guys that come in and solely focus on the water damage, the fire damage, or the mold, instead of tearing down the entire thing and bringing you something, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Jonathan, she picked on you. Yeah.
I'm used to it, but would you want to live in a prison cell with like no walls? I mean, I know it's clean in there, but but you need a little frill in there, make it look nice. That's what we do.
All right, Leena, what are the requirements to get a construction loan?
And on top of that, so you need the funding, right? In order to decorate and get all the walls up. Instead of prison cell, like you want a nice home custom made, like what you dream of. So the requirement of the construction loan, so how you underwrite, it's the same as the typical loan. So we need full doc. So have to look at the income, but mainly it's licensed contractor, right? That we have to work with. We have a lot of affiliates here. So now, you can make contact, like all those agents who are currently working with the seller or the buyers who are very picky, and it's limited inventory. And a lot of times, to see all the fixer upper and you scratch your head like, oh, hey, you don't have money to fix this. So that's where I come into play, that you have opportunity to open your doors and work with more buyers who are looking for fixer upper and have alternatives to be able to get the finance on building the dream home, right? So you mainly need to work with licensed contractor, and you need to have the approved permit. But to apply, you don't need to go that far, right? So if you already know that you're halfway into getting the permit approved or getting, all those blueprint ready, so you can start applying. Because you don't want us to have those approved and then start to apply and it turn out you don't get approved. And what are you going to go from there, right? So you'll be able to educate and get the head start and educate your buyers, your sellers. If you have the sellers who are wanting to, build the home, or, so you'll be able to work with them. But don't look at construction or just something that you're not going to get anything out of it, right? So you work with the buyer who maybe you can help them buy land, so you can help them, it might not be a big price tag on the home that you're looking for. Majority of the fixer upper, the price is a little bit lower, but it's for the future, right? So you plant the seed. So knowing the construction loan and be well educated will be a powerful tool in your toolkit to be able to, help you and make you look more knowledgeable and be as a full service agent. And that's really beneficial. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Leena. So Chris, when does the water come?
That depends on if they paid their bill. But for for us, once the rough-in stage is complete and everything looks good, that's when the plumber will finish installing all of the fixtures. and they'll connect everything to the water and sewer line. And then once that is complete, that's when they will start testing everything and making sure that there's no leaks. And if there is anything leaking, they'll fix it. And then they will do the final touches on everything. And if it still doesn't work or if it's still leaking, you chose the wrong plumber.
Okay, that's great. We learned a lot, all four of you. Are there any questions from the audience? They did such a great job. No questions. Perfect job, guys. Yes. Thank you very much to our panelists for. There's one. Okay. Yes, Lorraine.
So the debt ratio is, so we go, usually it's about 45%, but it's case by case. So I had one done at 50%. So we look at a lot of factors into it, and the loan amount, the minimum that we approve for is 100,000 that we required. But there's no maximum, so that will base on the appraised value. So we look at the appraised value once the construction is complete. That's when we can decide, if it's justified, the loan amount. So loan amount, there's no maximum, but based on also hand in hand with how much you can qualify for.
I have one for Adriana. Normally, insurance company have a list of companies that they normally are approved or use, right? And when you don't use those companies, they give you kind of a little bit harder time approving the company that you want to use. Is that true?
Yes, they do have a list of companies that they're already approved to use, but you don't necessarily have to use those companies. So yeah, that it's just easier for them because it's kind of like a deal that they've worked out between amongst themselves. So when you come in and you tell them like, hey, like say there's water damage and they've approved your claim, and you call them and you tell them, I'm hiring Adriana from Puro Clean. They're going to remediate the damage. They're not going to tell you you can't hire us. The only thing that changes is that if you choose your own company, the insurance company doesn't pay the company directly because they're not a vendor on their list. And some of them are, like say Puro Clean, like for us personally, we're on the list of Allstate insurance. So if you had a claim and you were with Allstate, that's no big deal. And you don't really have to jump through too many hoops. It's just up to you entirely. If you prefer to work with somebody that you're comfortable with and you already know them, they're not going to tell you you can't. It's just the payment, I believe, is kind of works differently. So they'll pay you and you pay your contractor instead of them paying the contractor directly. That's a common one because we do find a lot of people who would say, hey, I wanted to hire you, but my company uses ServPro or they gave me Service Master. Oh, sorry, shouldn't say those things out loud. But yeah, that they will tell you that they'll recommend them, but you don't have to use them. It's entirely up to you.
So for Chris, is repiping something that is oftenly done on older homes?
So yes, repiping is, because over time, a lot of the times from what we find is homes have used cast iron, and over time that breaks down, that cracks, and things like tree roots, which a lot of people don't know, those can penetrate your pipes. And so repiping is definitely something that is done to older homes, and not just older homes, but yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from the audience?
So for repiping, we use, the best, that, I guess that's a personal preference thing, but so PEX pipe is good because it lasts longer. Like I was saying, copper piping, it can degrade over time, and PEX is something where, it takes a long time for that to break down. And it's harder to penetrate with things like roots. So PEX would be one of the better ones.
Any other questions? Yes.
I'm not too sure about that. I do have a counterpart in the room. If you don't mind, if I could ask Jeff.
And then the second question, if a home inspector discover asbestos in the home, what should the homeowner and the seller do?
There's remediate. So you definitely need to call a remediation company. There are specific companies who specialize in asbestos removal. And we don't do that per se. So not a lot of restoration companies will do both. It's sort of a conflict of interest. So you don't really typically have a mitigation company come in and do that. But there are special companies who will, but you should definitely get your home tested and have that properly remediated. So there's special companies that you can call to have that removed. It's a pretty, depending on the scope of the project, it could be kind of a huge headache. So I would definitely, and it kind of has to do with the plumbing too. So we do find that if you want to avoid calling me, which you probably all do, I would highly, highly recommend that you get your pipes checked annually, because that is our #1 call. Pipes bursting and flooding especially the restrooms, that's our like #1 call. So yeah, definitely get your plumbing checked.
So the person in the back can answer the first question.
Well, I'll give it an attempt. Jeff Berg, Western Rooter, also realtor and a real estate agent. What I've seen, we used to build, but it's been a long time ago. And maybe, Jonathan, I've seen more in recent years, copper plumbing being installed. And in modern times, and I'm not hands-on anymore in that end of the industry, but the PEX has become in more to play. And maybe that's what you're seeing too. But yeah, the galvanized, I don't think is too used too much anymore. The stuff got old. So, and there's been a lot of repiping, Chris, right?
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank
you're welcome.
Okay, any questions from Zoom? Okay, thank you very much, and thank you all our panelists for coming today.
On behalf of Western Gabriel Valley Realtors, I would like to thank our panelists for the valuable information they share with us today. Please join us next week, July 3rd, as the Membership Special Events Committee hosts our 4th of July celebration. Breakfast will begin at 8:30 a.m. Thank you, everyone, for joining our meeting today. Have a wonderful day. This meeting is now adjourned.